Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And I thought today would be fun to talk through One Book July. This is the first year in, I don't know, about 10 years that they're not officially hosting the challenge, but I know a lot of people are, doing their own One Book July. It's kind of a milestone for some. And I thought I would walk through what it has been to me. It is definitely a milestone in my planner journey, but also my recovery from brain trauma. And so July 2017 was my first One Book July, and I had only been in the planner community a very short time, a couple of months or so. When I started getting my memories back, I was first introduced to YouTube. December, the end of 2016. And so I spent that holiday, weekend just learning everything I could about what is YouTube and what are junk journals and what are planners. And so those are like my first really memories coming back as far as, being creative and, learning to structure time again and everything. So One Book July holds a special place in my heart. Last year, One Book July was One Book July Junk Journal, where I junk journaled throughout the month. And I really loved it. Junk journaling is kind of, my creative hobby and outlet. And so this year, I've just been thinking, what am I going to do for One Book July? Yes, I'm going to do the Junk Journal July Challenge again. But also in July is when I set out my planners for July to July. So that first One Book July, I started planning in these sizes. This is the pocket size, and this is from the Planner Society. And I was new trying to figure it all out, and I knew that I wanted to try to figure out what system worked for me, and also, was I decorative planner, was I not a decorative planner? I knew none of this. it was all new to me. So this is the system that I use to work out for my own brain how I like to think, because up until January of 2017, I did not think chronologically. I didn't have, the ability to structure time in my mind the way that I could before and can now. So I had to reteach myself, had to relearn all of that. And I think as it is with anybody, until you figure out what works for you, you're just doing a bunch of stuff that other people do. And I'd been trying that for a couple months. Like I said, kind of the first part of 2017, I was watching a lot of videos. I had gone down the productive flourishing rabbit hole. I got introduced to them, I think from one of Carrie Harling's videos. She was using those inserts, that and filofaxing. And I was like, okay, well, let me go to the source. And so I started just playing around with all of their inserts. And so that is kind of what this is. I'm just gonna take these away and just walk through it. But essentially, I had one more cover that I had made that was before I bought these. So I bought this somewhere like middle of July. I made my own laminated cover to see if I liked this size before I bought it. So this is how I started. And I did purchase this, and it is what are these called when you have a week on 2 pages? Week on 2 pages, a pocket. I don't know what they're called, boxes, full boxes. And I was just trying to figure out, I had nothing going on in my life at this point. I was still very much trying to just get back out into the world. And so I volunteered at our local clothing and, assistance ministry. we had a ladies' Bible study. I went to Wednesday night Bible study. I must have taken an exercise class. And we had a meeting for my pageant. I had gotten back involved with that. So this was my, outside of my house, this is when I actually left my house. This was me. I made this sticker to let me know I was working on my planning system. My big book, big brain book, all the things. This is kind of when it started, so I had to make a sticker. And I volunteered at our, at a movie theater, like run by the Historic Art Commission, and went to church. So this was my activity. So I made a sticker for it. And so this was July. So this must have been the very end of June, which we were prepping for Vacation Bible School, it looked like. And by this point, I was starting to get out and see people. So the first, 6 months of 2017, I didn't leave the house except for to go to church and my sister's and my mom's. But somewhere around, I'd say April or May, I started volunteering at the movie theater. And I loved it so much. And I'm still like an on-call volunteer, but I don't do as much as I did. Okay, so this was the beginning of July. And this is how I was planning. I was just putting stickers in, trying to understand what my style would be. These are Victoria Thatcher stickers. So I was very heavily influenced by her style, especially when it came to like sticker planning. And so this is my weekly overview of, I'd say this is how I had creative planning. And I've always had both creative and then like a linear list, what do you call it? Functional planning. It's all functional in my mind. This is just as functional as something with no stickers and just words on a paper. But I was still learning that I need both depending on how my brain is working. At the time, sometimes I need pictures and color, and other times pictures, like I can look at this and tell you what these things mean because they are associated in my mind. I volunteered here. We were getting ready for our festival and our pageant. Obviously I wrote my sister had surgery there. But this week was just getting ready for the pageant. So you can see I use this theme of, girl bossing and stuff. And then our pageant here. This is getting ready for so we had a big dam concert at the lake. So this was the concert out the lake was happening here. I helped with, I have no idea how I went out there, but I did. For a couple of hours, I manned a tent. I volunteered one day. I got through all my anxiety, but I was really pushing myself at the time. And I credit planners to helping me do that, to re-enter the world. Because, I have anxiety just thinking about this time and like going back by looking at these things. Like you can probably see I'm visibly shaking, like there's a little bit of a weakness in my voice, and it's only because I'm having a little, like PTSD, but I'm fine. I'm just remembering this, and I'm feeling so grateful for how far I've come. And it really, I'm just now reading the words. So see, I am only looking at pictures right now until I focus. We had our Drums Across Kansas event. And I was really stepping out of my comfort zone here. I was, like I said, it had been about 6 months. I was pretty much a hermit in my house, just devouring YouTube videos and, connecting with the outside world that way. And by June, July, by June, I knew that I wanted to be more involved in my life again. Like, with the world around me. So here I was really pushing myself, and I was using this planning as a way to emotionally and mentally prepare myself for the week in advance by just setting up my pages and then just like, it was almost like a safety blanket. I would take it with me because it was like I could refer to knowing, okay, I have other things to do. This isn't going to last, whatever it is, you know, anxiety, stress, whatever. So here we are. I think this is already to August. So this was the week of the festival. And this was the first time I was back in helping and volunteering with it in a couple of years. So I had gotten sick in 20, really bad in 13. And so, you know, took a couple of years off. But, you know, here I am, and I'm just still trying to find my way with, you know, picking out themes and stickers and colors and, you know, all the things. Testing out these stickers. This is when I first started kind of figuring out these, and I still use this design. It's evolved a little bit, but they're actually on my Etsy shop, like a printable, digital printable that you can find there. And they're like mood trackers, you know. I just use them to indicate how I was feeling. So yeah, just very, as you can see, I used a lot of stickers. I didn't always have a lot going on, but, you know, as the summer went on, you can see that I can see for myself, I started getting, you know, a little more involved. By here, I started attending a genealogy group, which is now I'm very involved with. But, you know, 2017 was the beginning of it. Most of my life as it is now actually began in 2017 and with One Book July. Obviously, there's things, you know, that predate 2017. But what I connect to is the things since then. So all of that, One Book July has really just been a milestone marker in my life. When I get back here is when I started testing out these sort of weeklies, a vertical weekly. So at this point, so we're in November, I decided I wanted to do both the boxes with stickers and a list form in vertical. Or, yeah, vertical. Go in this, whatever this is, vertical, and these are boxes. And, you know, I knew at this point I started getting busy enough that I wanted a to-do list, you know, with me, because I would scratch on things at home, right? And so that is, let's see, which way did these go? Must have gone this way. So this is when I started adding these fold outs in. And we're at about the end of this booklet. I think it went for about 6 months, and they were just weeklies. Again, really started getting, you know, busier. As you can see, junk journals on there. That has always been, like, you know, a passion of mine. I haven't actually always, again, since 2017, I haven't, you know, been able consistently to marry the theme of junk journaling in my planner, which Barbara from 49 Dragonfly does, like, so well. I still, you know, there are times I still actually just need to see black and white and words. And so I started realizing I either needed to carry 2 different planners, you know, one for just lists and words and one for creative, you know, visual planning. And then I would just pick up whichever one I felt like I could process, you know, at the time. So here we are. It looks like we are at the end of November. The beginning of December. No, this is October. So Halloween. Again, just still playing around with stickers. Stickers I purchased, stickers I made, digitals. So this was the end of October. So I decided, it looks like, so I decided for November, I started this, I think this one. No, this is my, so these were my dailies. So let's try to figure this out here. So while I was doing this, I knew I should have a monthly somewhere too in here. This is when I started also with July, I had 2 inserts. I think I actually had 3, with a monthly, a weekly, and then this was my tracker, trying to figure out what I needed to track, because obviously there are so many things. And then a daily, which I was using this, so June 19th is when I started, getting ready for One Book July. And these are little inserts that I made, like my very first, trying to figure out what I wanted to use to document the days for me. What did I want to know? What was I eating? Sleeping, all of that. And so I was just trying to track, like, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? What was happening? Because, I still very much was learning about myself and things. So that's what this one is. And then I created a second one. This must have been by August. So I did 1 book for July, 1 for August. Because, I was really trying to be 1 book July. Obviously, all my things fit in. I was calling this a book because I had different inserts. In August. So this is how it began. This is how it began for me. I did have one more insert that I don't see here, but it is somewhere, but also I moved. That was just the month, month on 2 pages, and it had the little squares. And I don't see it right now, but I have this box of inserts that I've saved. I did think, should I throw these things away when I was moving? And I decided no, because in this very moment, I'm realizing still emotionally what these mean to me. And not like, oh, my a safety blanket or something. But it's a very real, tangible reminder of the progress that I've made. And sometimes I surprise myself still, and you do, whenever you go through any sort of trauma or grief, it feels like it's never going to end. And then slowly you work through it, and it's always with you. It's always in the back of my mind, but it's not in the present. It's not, yes, there's still things that come up and that, are triggers. Literally looking through these books are triggers. But I can face it, and I can know on this side of it how much stronger I am, how much better I am. So I'm so grateful. One book, this is what One Book July means to me. I can see how it started. And then each year I would add what I've learned from the previous year. And, I implemented this going forward until 2018. And I evolved throughout the year. And when we were approaching One Book July 2018, I was ready to take, all of these over here, all of this, and think, how could I create a system for myself, or grow this system? I was also working with the girls in my pageant. So this was my first year back as a director, and I wanted to have something for them also. So I took all of this and I made this one. So this was my first, assemble it planner. I wanted to have a large size for notebook writing. I had been playing around with A5, compact, personal, different sizes, for binding, but I realized I wanted it to be more like a workbook kind of. So this cover, I think my daughter helped me with designing this. And this wasn't even the prototype. This was probably like 3 planners into prototyping. But I knew I wanted it to be like a workbook on the front with things to actually help them figure out how to work through this for their year. You know, and that first year, all the girls got vellum. You know, with their, I used their crowning photos. So I gifted this to them. Our pageant was at the time, you know, the end of July, the beginning of August. Now it's pushed back into September. So starting it with July, working on it in July, and it started with, the first was August. This was really good because it helped them through the school year. It helped them through our pageant year. So, you know, One Book July is a milestone for me that way. So they all got, you know, this. I've since kind of quit doing this because if you use it very much, you know, these kind of start to, you know, so now they just have their photos on a paper. If they want one, you know, if they don't, it's fine too. And then I just started working through my, you know, my workbook in here for them. It has evolved a lot. And then after I printed this and I'd work through it through the year myself, I'd go through and take notes and say, what do I want to change for the next printing? You know, how do I want to reword it? But this was the first one. This is the first rendition, not the first actual planner. I had a couple prototypes. But this, during 2018's One Book July, this is what I did. I assembled this and, you know, really got it ready for August. And so just to kind of show you what I mean by assembled it, I actually designed it, you know, and like formatted it like, obviously you can only design a calendar so many ways, you know. It's not like I invented something new, it's a calendar. But I, you know, I played around. I used the coloring. I don't do them in color anymore. It's more expensive. But you know, I picked out whatever font I wanted to try. That's evolved too. And then I made the weeklies. And these were based on, you know, verticals at the time. I learned really quickly, I like thinking this way when it comes to, I would say these act almost as dailies for me, you know, as far as listing things out. And so that is how I did it. I just put, you know, a couple of, you know, main things that I want to accomplish in the day. And then I blocked out, you know, places and things where I was. And this was obviously festival time. So it started, you know, getting very, very busy. I was in, you know, doing festival things. The pageant was here. And this was the event of the festival. So I was so busy. Like, this was the first time I really got busy. And then, you know, I'm like, okay, now let me try to figure out, do I want to use a stamp? Do I want to use a sticker? I don't know. We'll try it. I was okay with it. Because I really love using stickers. So at some point I decided, you know, I do want to keep these lists and my sticker planning in two separate, like, books. So, you know, but this helped me figure it out. And I'm like, okay, we'll try it. You know, it's still minimal. I wanted to try some stamping and, but, you know, I learned really quickly. I just like listing. I like writing things. A sticker every now and then, but I really, you know, this is like my workhorse, you know, the workhorse. And so, once I started working for myself again, then I started using this as my, I mean, it's my everything. It's what I refer to at tax time. You know, when the year's up, I take it with my taxes. And then when I get my taxes back, everything's done. It all goes in a like a, you know, one of those poly sleeves, and it gets packed away. So it's all together. Well, so August to August, as you can tell, the tax year for me is January to December. So quickly I figured out at some point, because I didn't start working until Was it in September of 18 or 2019? It wasn't until yes, it was about this time when I started working, because this is when I met my Rosie, and I must have met her somewhere right around here. This is when I visited with her and went to our first event in person, but where I met her at could have been in September. I don't know. I have no idea. I thought it was like October, around, let's see, this was the film festival. I thought it was around October 17th. It was a Tuesday. Look at that, all that I know. It was either, well, it was a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday, and it could have been, and the reason why I know it's a Tuesday, here it was, October 23rd. So this is the day I met her, right here at this lunch. She walked right up to me and said, "I need your help." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, whatever you need." If a little Rosie the Riveter walks up, then you do. And here she was at this parade, Rosie the Parade. So this was the first, you know, our first event, and that began our friendship and our journey of me documenting her. And so 2018. So by this point, I was feeling comfortable with being in the public, with getting busy, with doing the things. Obviously, very busy. So all of that, I may have to cut all this out. So that's what this is. This is me testing out my first, you know, my first design, deciding what worked for me, what didn't work for me, what I liked, what I wanted to include and use moving forward. So this was, I had some notes in the back. Didn't always use it. I still carry a, you know, a little dump book around with me, but so neat to go back and see these memories. So by the next year, I was ready to update my design. I have, the rest of them are packed up somewhere. This is, you know, again, I moved. This is what I found. So then we had 2020 and 21. And by 2019, 2020, I started making planners for other people besides my girls, if they asked, you know. So especially like for school teachers, because, you know, my July to July format worked really good for them. And so I grabbed several of these, but I didn't look at what year, but this is obviously last year. And so by 2019, when I did 2019, this one went to 2019. So when I started 2019 to 2020 in my next one, like I overlapped it, I think, you know, and I started with July 2019 to 2020. I went all the way through to the end of 2020 that year, because I was like, oh, I need to start thinking, I need to have a whole year together. So my 2019, 2020 is all together. And of course that one's got a lot of memories in it from 2020. And it was bigger, and it was a year and a half long, obviously. But, and that's in a box somewhere. So fast forward to, each year I would update it. I'd change what I wanted in there. And then this one was last year. And again, I'm always kind of saying, what do I want to do? So I've changed the font. This was actually a free printable, because why not? I don't usually put like a overview page in there. But I did. I thought, you know, I'll try it. Plus, you know, it's a resource when I do make the planner for the girls. You know, they might think differently than me. I'm going to show them, I'm going to give them this for them to work out for themselves. And then if they want me to work through it with them. But, you know, they don't always use all the inserts, and I don't always use the inserts. For example, this one I was going to use to track my workouts and my steps and when I close my ring. And I didn't, because my watch keeps track of it. So there's just some things, I don't use. Again, I was going to use this one to track my migraines. I ended up using something else, a smaller one, that I carry around, because I don't actually carry this around often. This pretty much stays at home. Let's see which one of these I share this one. I try to figure out how many project pages do I need in here. So here I had a lot. So for this 2023 planner, I used less of these. I only put a couple in, and I realized that wasn't enough. So, it's every year it's something different. Excuse me. Let's have some coffee, shall we? Yeah, so every year is, I just keep kind of updating it. What do I still want to have? Obviously, I use a lot of Post-it notes, sticky notes there and there as parking pages. Yeah. So this front half is still the workbook, but in fact, I think I didn't put a lot of the workbook in this one. So I kind of left the workbook out of this one, and I just used the inserts that go with the workbook for the girls, because this is for me, and I didn't want to include it. But as you can see, my inserts have changed. They're very much inspired by Filofaxy, because they were in the beginning, so they still are, I do go in and make my own, but again, it's using the same format, except for when it actually comes to the calendar. I learned after that first year or so, I did not want to lay out new calendars every year. I can, but I use the Filofaxy inserts for that. And so I'm going to link that below in case you're like, what is she talking about? Filofaxy is a website. You can get to it from filofaxy.com or mylifeallinOneplace.com, and they'll both kind of direct you to the same places. And it's a free resource put together by some amazing people. It's kind of a collaborative, but the main, I always refer to Mr. Filofaxy, Steve Morton, because that was really kind of my introduction into it through his channels. And there are a lot of great resources that you can use, especially when you're first trying to figure out, what is my system? What type of insert do I want to use? What size? You can just print them out and test them out until you figure it out before you invest in the expensive binders and planner systems and all the things. And so for me, it's just been great to practice through the different design styles that I want. So like this was a tracker. Obviously, I didn't use it all, but I put it there if I wanted to, and I just kept track of the things I wanted to, on here. A weekly tracker I ended up not using, but I kept this in my, this type of tracker in my personal. But again, I just used Sheets, Google Sheets or something to design that. What I do include in this for myself every time is my process, my annual, monthly, weekly, and daily routines. And I would say they're pretty automatic now, but sometimes I want to refer to them. So I always keep a list of that in there. And then I just had this page to be a scratch page when I had thoughts. Time blocking, planning out when I wanted to do things. And then I start. So in this one, I used a month on one page, and then I had a tracker on the other side. And that, it worked out pretty good for me. This was last year. Then I did put in a blank each month. I added my content calendar, and then what project, for work that I was working on. So I just have a routine, and did I write the article yet? Is it something I went to and filmed? Do I need to edit it? Have I edited it? Is it a podcast versus a video? or, was it just an article? For those of you who don't know, I'm a freelance multimedia journalist, so I, have to track all my own things. So this is my system for doing it. Obviously, it's all on the computer. Everything I do is computer-based, which is why I love using my planners when I can for analog things. And then this is a week on 2 pages. It's that vertical timed. This has kind of evolved over the years, which one I've used, but I'm really comfortable with this one. And this is a Filofaxy insert. And so I keep my daily to-dos down here, and I put my appointments here. And sometimes I use a sticker, but not very often in this. It really is for me documenting, the things. So this was last year, and it goes this way all the way through, and we have a month, a tracker, post-it notes, obviously things I was working on, all the way through. And I really have gotten to a system that works so well for me. And it's this way all the way through. So I have not, as of last year, I did not set up, I did, update it and get it ready for 2023. But as far as working through things like I had before in One Book July, that's kind of evolved for me. So last year when I did Junk Journal July, it just kind of made sense that also One Book July was evolving into Junk Journal July. Because I don't necessarily have to do this in July and have it ready for August. So this is my current 2023. I did downsize to the smaller spiral this year because it's, maybe you notice the other ones were the bigger spirals. Now this, I have put the workbook back in this one, which it wasn't in that one. And some of that was, so I do have this because I am, still working on it, updating it and that kind of thing. The one that I make for my teacher is different. I mean, obviously she wanted a different layout. It goes, the weeklies go this way. What is this called? Horizontal. And I don't have the pageant information at the front. But same kind of plan. And we have a good system now with her, so I just give her the new monthly, weekly files, and her inserts that she uses for teaching and lesson plans and all that, they remain the same year after year. So I've actually just emailed her those files, and she takes it and gets it printed and bound each year. So she prints out which one she wants. All I do is give her the new, this kind of all assembled. But I digress. So I've really evolved this system. Something I did do last year, but I took out this time, was this index. I was going to use it like a bullet journal style index. I don't use this. So I just took it out. But anyway, so this was last year. This is the workbook side of it. Let's see if we can get to the end. I still have some of my worksheets in there. So I have used it a little bit, a little bit tracking leading up to Miss Kansas. So we're here now. And I have not started setting this up yet, but it will be, because now that the 2023 pageant season's over, now we're getting ready for the 2024 season. And the first one is actually the end of the month. And mine's in September. So in this one, I only had a couple of those project pages. I did not do too many of them, which now I'm thinking I wish I had more project pages, but I did leave some of the other, inserts in there. And just to like show you, as I was working on the I'm putting together one for the pageant year, which does go July to July of 23 to 24. I just went through and started putting notes. What page don't I need for the next one? What do I want to use? I decided to add some instructions. because this one's going out of, the next one's going out of state, and I am going to make videos, I think, to walk through so that, you know, the girls can use that on here, but in the meantime, I wanted to have some, you know, some notes, and I just, you know, tell myself which pages I don't need, kind of words to go with them. Back to my, this was my routine. And now we're at January. So as you can see, now I am at a full 2-page, back to 2 pages, monthly. And then, you know, my weekly. And that's it. That's where we are now. Let's see, where are we in July? We are, let's see, we are at this week, but I have a lot of notes in there. So this will be next week. Yeah, so I guess the whole point of this is One Book July has evolved. This is my one book. I hadn't thought of actually working through like my week on here, and maybe I'll do a separate video of that. Especially, do you want to see how I actually just write in this and what my review process looks like and my setup for the week and the month? I can do that. But this one's actually mine. This is what I use. And of course, it now goes January to December. But this one is going into the mail today. And I'm making sure I have the person's information covered up. It is the updated version from mine. Just a little bit, you know. Copyright page, because of course, place for them to put their name. And then it just goes right into the workbook side of it. I have the inserts in here. Let's see, when I said, okay. So when I talked about, I added instructions, like how to use these pages at the tops of them. This insert was very inspired by Filofaxy, so I think it was Filofaxy, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, I modified them and update them July to June, but in mine it starts with January. So, you know, very similar, just personalize it. Same here. This starts with July to June, and again, how to use these pages, project pages. So this young lady wanted a task list for each month, you know, a project. So, you know, like doing a project a month, which I think is a very good, that is how I used to do it. And then I did too few this year, so I'll probably go back to adding, you know, a few more of those pages in. But yeah, all the different resources. They don't have to use all the inserts I give them, you know, I provide them. And then content calendaring, you know, idea. And then here we are, July. So, and it looks like that all the way through. She'll be able to add her own tabs or, you know, whatever. So this is what I do for One Book July now. I put these together, but, you know, I can't always show that because sometimes I personalize them for the girls. I can walk you through mine, which is very, you know, very much the very similar thing. So I feel like this video is taking a while, but this is my One Book July, you know, my one book everything. Obviously I have lots of planners. I have my weeks. I use the Sterling ink. I have my pocket moleskin, you know, all of those are for like on the go or decorative planning. But as far as my master brain book, big book of all the things, I use this. So yeah, just leave me a comment if you'd like to see like how I actually use it, like me going through a plan with me. I haven't done a plan with me in a while, so I could probably do that. If you'd like to see that, leave me a comment. The reason why I made this video is I had a comment on one of my other ones from one of my friends who follow me on here, and just kind of, you know, mentioned that she missed seeing my planner videos. So, and then I went and looked and I was like, oh, I haven't done a planner video in a while. And some of it's just, you know, I've been busy. And so when I do sit down and turn the camera on for not work, You know, it's because I just want to do some art journaling and playing and that kind of thing. And I'm usually planning all the time, like on the go, in the morning, in the evening, throughout the day. Like my planner just sits on my other desk over there open. Sometimes it sits here if I'm not in the middle of a craft project. So, you know, I'm not always thinking to turn the camera on, but I can. That's my point. I can turn the camera on if you would like to see that. So thank you for joining me for this very lengthy video, but my description of what is my one book July. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. And tag me, drop your handles below where I can go follow you, watch your videos if you're doing one book July this year. If you're not, if you're doing something else, cool too. You know, I'd love to come follow you, especially if you're doing a junk journal July. Follow those too. Planners and junk journals. That's my love language. And coffee. Have a great day.